Right. So this video is about how resolving karma, right? Resolving karma have actually less to do with what actions you put forth in the world than what actions you restrain from, right? I'll say that again, right? Resolving your karma, which you ought to do in this lifetime, right? Resolving your karma have less to do, right? Because we're ascending and everybody is ascending, right? Resolving your karma has less to do with actions that you put forth into the world than actions that you restrain from, right? It has less to do, right, with actions that you do than actions that you do not do, right? Meaning that you can't what you call ascend, right? Meaning karmic resolution, right? And freeing yourself, right? Karmic resolution, right? You could do this, right, by restraining more from wrong actions rather than putting forth more good actions, right? So understand this, right? You're restrained from doing wrong, right? Restrained from temptations, restrained from the desire to kill people, restrained from that which is tempting you, restrained from sexual activity, restrained from your temptation to drink alcohol and intoxicants, restrained from your temptation to have sex, restrained from your temptation to eat meat, right? Abstinence from wrong deeds, abstinence from wrong deeds, abstinence, withdrawing yourself from corrupted organizations, right? Instead of waiting until you have 60 years, right? And you still can't change nothing in that system. Withdrawing from, right, corrupted institutions. Resolving your karma has more to do, right, with restraining from evil, right, than participating in good, right? Or restraining from evil is participating in good, right? But the point is you're withdrawing yourself from that activity, and that is how you resolve your karma. And this is what people don't want you to know this. Or they still focusing on storytelling and tying up people's head. Listen, teach that which is right, right? All people have to do to ascend or to resolve the karma really, right? And share this information, right? Withdraw yourself from evil deeds, right? And you have less good that you have to do in the world because you're restraining that and you're putting forth that knowledge in the world. So you're telling people to do that as well, right? The more you restrain from evil, the less activity. And this is what it means by Allah intends ease, right? This is what it means, right? To ease your journey, to solve. But that's the next thing. This is a tough journey, regardless of how you take it, right? So it's not even easing up your journey, but is actually just a straight and narrow path, right? It's straight and narrow path, right? So restraining from evil, temptation, vices, entertainment, a desire to want to be a part of the world, right? Restraining from all, right? All. And then you have less to actually do, right? Less to do, less energy to exert, right? So the more you withdraw, right, from earthly affairs, the less you actually have to do, right? Is a form of ease, but this form of ease actually comes with quite a bit of suffering, right? So you need to understand that. So you need to put in that effort into yourself, right, and teaching that effort to others, right, in order for this karmic resolution to take place, right? And that effort is a hard endeavor, right? But is in the long run, this was going to resolve your karma, right, in this lifetime, right? Karmic resolution is the aim. Your personal karmic account of deeds, right? When Allah calls you to account, right? What have you done? What have you done good? What have you done wrong, right? And the weighing of those deeds, right? So, and on that day, Allah will give you an opportunity now to fix your misdeeds, right? Fix your past misdeeds. And I'm telling you, this is some of the ways I could fix your past misdeeds, right? You're doing the wrong thing all your life. You're involved in lust all your life. You're involved in eating carnivorously all your life. You're involved in drinking excessively all your life, right? Withdrawing from these activities, right? Withdrawing from these activities. So add to your karmic account of good deeds as well as teaching it to somebody else, one or two people, whoever, how much ever people, right? This is how you resolve, right? This is how you resolve, and this is without finances. So I'm talking about the opportunity for people without even money. You don't need money. So this is what, like in Islam, how you talk about zakah being a fundamental element. Now, if you have excess money, like you have to donate, and you could donate, right? And you should donate because that's what you actually owe to people, right? So I still have some of that to do, however, right? But I have some time here left, right? So you have that as a fundamental pillar of the religion, right? I'm talking about resolving a complete resolution are your deeds, right? Apart from that, and without money for people who don't have finances, right? So you're talking about in Islam, how you talk about zakah being a fundamental pillar of the religion, but what about somebody who do have money, right? If you're in a position you don't have money, right? Withdrawing yourself, right, from misdeeds, right? Hey, so what? Yeah, cause I'm watching 10 entertainment videos a day on your phone. Hey, you ease up, watch 8, right? You ease up, watch 6, right? You ease up, watch 5, right? You ease up, watch 4, and do that until you reach 1 or 0, right? And that is our way, right? A karmic resolution as well, because you're not participating in that form of evil, right? Evil to your eyes, evil to your ears, evil to your spirit, right? Evil to your heart, right? So these are ways without finances, because, and guess what? That is where your power lie, and that's where the actual elite wealthy don't want you to know that that's where your power actually lie. That without money, you could actually flip the script and control the elite, right? They have been controlling you all your life, right? When they know how to control your sense organs, right? Control your sense organs, manage your sense organs, right? God could flip that script and say, "Hey, well, I appoint you as manager, right? Oversee over the people who is overseeing you, right? Shucks. Well, he's not really the manager or overseer of anybody, to be quite honest and fair, right? But at least for your own mental state, right? Hear this, right? Nobody in controlling you, right? They want you to believe, and that's why the Quran is still the answer, right? They want you to believe all the time that somebody controlling you. Nobody ever controlling you. The only way people controlling you is through the satanic institutions, right? So the satanic influence entertainment, right? Always listen to some of them dancehall music, right? Them thing designed to freaking put you in a different zone, right? A different zone altogether. Come out of that and you see a different person, right? Come out of that and you're a different person, right? That kind of music, right? Dancehall. I talk the same way. It's not racing. I talk the same way with alternative and thing. Them kind of music designed to pull you in some kind of zone that you done out of, right? I ain't going back in them realms, right? I pick up some things on there that, hey, right? Watch, right? So that's what I'm saying. Withdrawal from evil, right, is a form of karmic resolution which you could do without money, right? You don't need money for that. Right? And if God call you to account, tell you what you do wrong, what you do good, how you can make a fair past misdeeds, right? Oh, but I don't have money to donate this and that, right? Withdraw from temptations, right? And that's how you help yourself, right? Not only help yourself, but help you benefit in society as well without their knowledge too, right? So you become a benefactor, right? Or you become an asset to society, right? Without they even knowing it, right? So right? So when you learn to manage things like smoking, right? You have no money to donate, right? God say, hey, I call you to account, right? You do X, Y, Z to this woman, you did X, Y, Z to this man, you cheat on this person, you do this, you do that, right? You thief this, you thief that in the past, you do this, you do that, right? And you have to make up your deeds now, right? Bring up your good deeds on the day of judgment, right? So that your balance or have your good deeds supersede your bad deeds, right? Things you could do, right? Hey, you just eat meat twice a day. Hey, eat meat once a day, and then eat meat 0 times a day, right? As a progression, right? These are ways without even finances, right? You could balance your account of good deeds, or even have your good deeds supersede, right? Your bad deeds, right? So you don't have to wait and depend. You see this repatriation there, and this is why people power lies, and actually Caribbean people power actually lies on overcoming this need towards repatriation, 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 right? the power of Caribbean people and African people, right, lies in their ability, right, to overcome the desire for anybody to repatriate you, right? That is where your power is, right? Because, like I tell you, people want you, right, and wanted groups and people to come, and I end in that story and I end in it, right? Because people want people to always come, right, every few years and jump up till thy kingdom come for that repatriation money and they were paying it, right? So I'm telling you all how to overcome that desire for repatriation, right? And that's come with self management, right? Overcoming the desire for repatriation, right, comes with self management, right? Because when you overcome that desire, you're dependent on nobody, right? Hey, I don't want nobody to give me money so I can buy KFC 3 times a day, partner, right? That is where you had to go. That is where you had to go, right? That is where you had to go, right? So all you know the African stereotype about eating KFC, right? Which a lot of it does be true. I know one lie, right? A lot of it does be true, right? Hey, so here this your power, right, to overcome this repatriation desire, right, comes with self-management, right? All the big chain and the 10,000 rings and all them thing, right? Necessary? No, right? Necessary? No, right? Right. So we are looking to help people manage themselves, right? So you don't have a need to be inclining towards the oppressor, right? In order to get to beg the oppressor for money, right? That is where we're looking to go. That being said, I still had to fight for this thing by the time I finish this book, and it's up to them because they have karmic resolution as well, right? To participate in. So it's not that I say in this and I on them team. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. I still actually fighting for that because they owe it. And once they owe it, I had to fight for it until I finish teaching the Quran, right? But also teaching a lesson. Hey, how can you rise above the desire for it, right? So that you say, hey, when that time has come for people to repatriate and they have to repatriate, you just ease. You say, hey, it there, it's not there, and it's okay, right? And that's the point I try to help people get at, right? That is state of mind, right? To remove that desire which they want you to always be in a state of jumping up and asking them for, right? And I mean, African people know way better than that. I mean, I already passed you so much, right? I know way better than that too, right? So, right. So there's a conversation really, right? Just to do resolution of your deeds without even money, right? That is where it is really, right? And how you could really bring yourself or ascend, right? To bring yourself to a higher state of being and be a benefactor to society, right? Without even having a need, right? To want to bring money and that kind of thing, because money and all is a thing that is just so it could become so corrupt their mind, right? Right. So that's just that because and that's just to resolve that thought, right, about being Muslim and having to feel bad about something because like every time you come across well the Quran and even spiritual teachers are saying, oh well, you had to give charity, you had to give charity, you had to do this, you had to do that, right? And lower class Muslims be feeling, hey, well, you don't have this, you don't have that, right? People who want to donate, even people who want to go Hajj, all kind of thing, right? And they feeling bad, right? And they feeling bad, they seeing, oh, the whole world going to Hajj, right? And you can't afford to go to Hajj, right? Are talking to people like that, right? Go do business on a real note, right? God, Allah, really do business, right? About you really going to Hajj, right? I listen, this and this is what I do want you to know, right? Allah concerned about your inner pilgrimage, right? Allah more concerned about your inner pilgrimage, right, than you actually physically going to Hajj. So it's not something that anybody had to feel bad about, right? It is something that the elite Muslim actually owe to you all, right? But it's not something that you have to concern yourself that, hey, Allah is going to be vexed with me if I do go to Hajj or I don't make it to Hajj, right? Because I mean, Hajj has become such a one, right, is a show thing too, right? I know don't know what people who doing this, but it become a show thing. All pilgrimage, right? Going to India, going to Mecca, going to is not is overdone too, right? And Allah really, 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 to be real, I really think Allah really concerned about you having to have to make this journey, right? The journey is inward on a real note, right? The journey truly is inward, right? So you think a person who is making all this sacrifice, self-sacrifice, personal sacrifices, internal sacrifices to be a better person personally, right? Allah not concerned about you having to make an outward journey because you're already making an inward journey, right? Because when you go to that pilgrimage, right, where you're coming back to in the end, you're coming back to yourself, right? At the end of the day, you're coming back to you and Allah, right? And that is all. Because you're going there, you're making that journey. But it's not like you're going there. You might die there, right? But it's not like you're going there and that is where you have to die, right? You might die there because the book says that you don't know what land you perceive, you might be dying and thing, right? And so you might die there, right? Probably if you're a pure soul and so on, well, the book said don't claim purity. Well, if you're a pure soul, whatever, close to God, close to Allah, right? You go there, you might actually die there, right? But often we go there, right? And then you return back home. And who you return back home to? Your family, yourself, right? So this is what I'm talking about. It has more to do, right, with restraining from evil than participating in what you think is good, right? So it don't always have to be, right? You don't always have to be outside there doing one sort of thing, doing one sort of thing, right? Even eat all these things, right? All these things can become a little more minimal and it don't have to be one sort of big thing, right? It don't have to be one sort of big thing like how people is do it, these big events and thing, right? All these things could be smaller scale, right? And that's why they were really headed to because a lot of people really do like all these big events anyhow, right? So that's what really is about, right? Withdrawing from evil and temptations, right? Rather than being out there always, thinking that you're doing good, right? And this is what the point is about a lot of government work and a lot of government. Oh no, I know don't know on government, right? I saying that it's about 5 ministries that I see necessary. I always say that, right? Lights, water, right? Good roads, local government, right? In a sense, one ministry, and ministerial local government is the only government that's the only ministry that's necessary, right? I just always say that, right? Ministerial local government, right? Seeing about roads, water, garbage collection, lights, right? And also healthcare, right? So healthcare and ministerial local government, right? Two local government, right? Two ministries that I see as absolutely essential in government. And everything else, I don't see it necessary. Right? Those resources could be expended elsewhere. Right? So this is why I don't know, right? I'm just being honest about the situation, what is necessary, what's not necessary, right? And people could be that's why I say a country could actually repatriate itself if it wants. Understand what I'm saying? A country could independent and repatriate itself if it wants, right? Right? When I look, and this is really a satanic will, like when I see people making, I see people really making videos saying the will is fake and it's all a scheme and it's all illusion, right? It's all a scheme really. It's not illusion, but it's a scam, right? It really is a scam, right? Because watch, if I had to govern this country, right, I could independent this country from England in two twos, right? I could independent Trinidad and Tobago from England at the snap of my finger, right? Given the opportunity to manage this country resources, I could snap away. We don't need all that, right? We don't need England. We don't need to carry no court matter to England. We don't need England, right? So all you need to stop this thing, right? And that's why people hate me too, and people even in this country gonna hate me too because all you like this dependence syndrome, right? All you like the dependency syndrome. I don't like it, right? I telling all you, hey, and we're talking about your ability to self-manage, right? Your ability to self-manage, right? Self-manage, right? From your finances, so you think that you eat, to the things that you drink, right? To the things that you consume overall. And you don't have to give up, laughter, comedy, joy, right? You don't have to be a serious person all the time to live that life, right? You could still make joke, you could still have fun, you could still do your stuff, right? You could still do what you're doing, right? But it is a managing the country, right, where everybody has equitability and equality, right, in terms of resources. And this is why they hate me, because if I get a chance to govern this country, everybody getting fixed, right? Everybody getting fixed. Everybody mentals getting fixed, and everybody getting sorted out financially, right? Because trust me, right? I know with them kind of thing that all it is beyond in government because of that colonial legacy. I know on them kind of thing. I know on the bureaucracy, right? I know on the bureaucracy. I know on the tie up thing. I know on the lies and manipulation, right? I know on the waste of time thing. I know on all the JSC documents, this, that, and the other. I on the practical. I only practical. Hey, you have a skill to do something. You have a skill to work in WASA. Hey, I recruiting you, right? You have a skill to work at TNTech. I recruiting you, right? And TNTech and WASA being the foremost, topmost companies in the country, right? TNTech and WASA being the foremost companies in the country to make sure everybody have access to those resources. Everybody without fail. It's simple. It's simple, right? You have the ability to fix potholes, right? I'm recruiting you, right? This is what a ministry of local government is, right? You have the ability to fix potholes. I'm recruiting you, right? And again, your good salary, right? Again, you're way above good, great, great, great salary, right? If I am running this country, right? But anyhow, people don't want me there, right? People don't want me there, right? It's easy to manage Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is small, right? It's easy to manage TNT, right? Here what? Two ministries, Ministry of Health and Ministry of Local Development, which is in charge of roads, water, lights, garbage collection, right? Maintenance of recreation facilities, right? That's all. One more we need as a country. One more we need, what we need as a country, right? Management of recreation facilities, so your child where it has some swimming pools, play parks, whatever, right? In each area, right? Set up those things in every area. A swimming pool, a little play park, a little recreation ground, right? Sports. You don't need schools even, right? Schools just the buildings there. The buildings just there, right? For you to go in, right? If you need to, when you need to, whoever needs to, right? It's easy to manage this country. People minds are just off key, right? People minds are just off key, right? Government leaders crazy, right? Crazy. All it is be crazy, right? Watch my mindset so different from people, right? My mindset's so different, right? I tell you, right? If I get to govern this country, this whole place changing, right? Everything about this place changing, right? Everybody getting jobs who don't have jobs because everybody have some skill, right? And again, a practical job that makes sense. No sitting down staring at your screen for 8 hours waiting for the day to pass. No doing some shit memo and shredding paper, right? Everybody getting a job, right? Everybody getting a job, right? That is one righteous, right? You get a righteous job within the government, right? Righteous job within the government, right? And two, right? Safety, right? It even had no need for no ministry national security because, hey, as a citizen of the nation, you recognize your duty to look out for your people, right? And that is a teaching. That is essentially the teaching, right? And wherever capacity, if you're in a village, hey, you look out for your village members. When you see them, you look out for your two neighbors, wherever, right? That is the Ministry of National Security, right? So then police now could get their ease, right, from where they did because they going through what sort of thing to get into that service in the first place, right? So this to give police people some ease now because they haven't had it easy either, right? So police now could see their job as a different light now, right? Police could see their job in a form of, hey, I could to soften them now because you know they like to read people how something, right? So soften them now by doing your part as a citizen, right? You looking out for your people, right? If you start to look out for your people, right? You think them guys need to be study badgering people who home badgering people home. If you actually looking out for good people looking out for good people, transforming bad people into good people, transforming criminals into good people, right? Or you think police actually continue to like badgering people home and getting on so big and bad and bully, right? So it's for normal citizens now to kind of soften these people hard because they going through one set of training that make them turn against life too, right? They going through a kind of training that make their hearts harder and turn against life itself too, right? So it's to really come out, and all of this is in withdrawal. So that's why I'm saying I don't be against people as a whole, but I not against, hey, police raid my home. I was real traumatized by that event then. That was before the MK Ultra thing, right? And I still, my heart's not turned towards nobody, right? Because I say, hey, well, that happened, right? That happened for its own purpose and that happened for its own reason, however, the cause it, that the cause it, right? So I looking at that from a different angle now, right? So I would have retaliate against it, right? Because it was a wrong and it was a real evil thing to do. And it was a wrong and it was an immoral and unethical thing, right? But I looking at this thing from a different angle now, having passed through that already, right? And moving on from it, right? Is for people, and this is all, and this is for police officers too, right? Withdrawing from all them activities too. All they think if all they continue, if all they withdraw from doing them thing, criminals themselves would be on all their side, right? In terms of helping you all to solve crime situations and stuff, right? Stop doing them kind of thing, barging into people who innocently get on big bad and bully, right? And get criminals on their side too, right? To be on the police side and looking out for good citizens, and good citizens will look out for police officers and vice versa, right? And you don't even have to be termed no police officer, right? You term a citizen, right? You're normal in plain clothes. You don't even have no freaking police van, nothing paint over all them thing, right? So nobody again, you ain't telling the children, oh, the police coming to lock you up and training that child in that sickening deranged mentality from young, right? If you know, I hate that shit too, right? No, I hate, right? I don't like people calling, hey, you're telling your child, hey, don't do this, or the police will come for you, right? Training a child from young into that deranged freaking mentality, right? Like if the police, you're not supposed to view the police as, hey, somebody coming to lock you up, right? That's not how you're supposed to be seeing police from a child, right? So this police thing now, right? Supposed to be a normal thing, right? Yeah, you're getting your salary as well as your volunteering, and it's a softened thing. It don't always have to be this big bad bully thing, right? It could be a little softer job, right? It could be you be softer towards the people be softer towards you, right? So it is all in the conversation of withdrawing from being evil, right? Withdrawing because police officer or your job, that is also a temptation, right? I studied this thing real good in my mind, right? Being a police officer is a temptation because that's a job that testing your evil, right? That profession is something that testing how evil you could be. So that job is a test, a test of your heart and a test of your being as a human too, right? How far I willing to push this, right? How evil am I willing to be to another human being, right? Because you have the power, you have that human authority, right? The government grants you the authority to say, hey, I have the power to badge somebody home without a warrant, right? And intimidate them, right? So how far you willing to push that evil side of you? That is what our job is testing you about, right? And this life is a test, right? So that job of a police, right? It is a test, and people best believe all about a pass this test, right? Is a test, right? How far you're willing to push the evil side of you, right? In order to intimidate people, innocent people, right? And that in itself, it is be a temptation because it's be like, oh, you have that human authority to do that, let me do it, right? Let me do it, right? So this video is to help police officers too, because there's a temptation, right? The desire is a desire for control, right? So early now, right? All your job really is to learn to manage all the self. That is what they're supposed to be teaching all in the police force, right? Self management is what I had to be teaching earlier, right? Not controlling others, right? So when you learn to do that within yourself, you don't have the need now to barge in nobody innocent home, right? So you're learning self management, right? Hey, I have the ability to do this, but I'm withdrawing from doing it because it's wrong. And that make you a good police officer, right? That's what make it, and that's what differentiates a good police officer from a bad one, right? The ability to say, hey, I have the power to do something incredibly evil, right? But I'm withdrawing from the temptation of that desire to do something incredibly evil, right? And that's what sets you apart as a police officer. In whatever field or in whatever group of people, batch, number, whatever, series, a section, right, of work that you're working in, right, as a police officer. Because all leaders be in all kind of thing, right? And I know all leaders be up in all kind of thing, right? So that's what differentiates a good police officer from a bad police officer. To me, right, it means I have the ability and the human power to enact my control upon somebody, right, innocently, right, who are innocent person, but I choose not to exercise my power in that direction. That's what set apart good police officer from the bad ones, right? Good, right? So it's all in the conversation of withdrawing from self management and withdrawing from evil, right? More than you having the need to go and do XYZ. So when you do that now, you say, hey, well, I could actually, the salary I gain, right? I could use it for my family benefit. I don't have to be all over the place. I don't have to be all that. I don't have to be all this all over, right? And your family feels safe and secure now. Hey, well, hey, your child feels secure, right? Your wife feels secure. You know, wife, police officer, wife's mind is being in a disarray, right? I would imagine so, right? Police officers' wives, right? And families, their mind always in a state of unease because, hey, you don't know if your family member coming home alive, remember a police officer, their life on the line, right? That's a job where your life is on the line, right? So that's something a lot of people don't appreciate too with police officers, right? Their life always on the line, right? And that's why we're trying to ease as well, give people some ease, because what will give those officers ease and good police officers ease, right, is citizens doing their part too. Citizens doing their part and looking out for each other, right, is what's going to give police officers that ease in that way, right? And Allah intends ease, right? Good.